Welcome to 5 Stripe Weekly, everyone. This week we take a look back at that New England Revolution match that had a pretty special moment for Academy graduate George Bello. And with international break coming up, we take a dip into the mailbag to answer some of your questions. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to our 50th official show, 5 Stripe fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube or hop over from Facebook and subscribe. So guys, let's get into that 2-1 win over New England Revolution where we started off brightly, but in the end it was kind of a little bit underwhelming because Miguel Almiron had to come out of the game and yeah, it just took that oomph out of it. And, I mean, it was still, had the bright moments in this game, though, because George Bello made his second MLS start. And I think we were all clamoring for this because Chris McCann, I mean, yeah, it was something that we really just wanted. And, it was in this red herring 4-3-3 formation that looks more like a 3-4-3. But, yeah, I mean, I think we, played a lot better than against Red Bulls for sure, but I think it's just because it was weaker competition.
Yeah, for sure. New England Revolution were terrible. The only reason that game was really close at all was because A, the ref was terrible and wasn't handing out bookings from the beginning, which he should have been because they were absolutely battering our players from minute 1. And honestly, it really irritated me because there were plenty of chances for this ref to take control of the game, dish out a booking, and prevent any of the nonsense that went on with the hard fouls the rest of the game. But it's Major League Soccer. We all know that's not going to happen. And it didn't. And unfortunately, you see Miggy end up getting clattered and he gets hurt. But Bello got that second start in place of McCann, which I think, like you said, all of us wanted, and you can absolutely see why he started and why I think not just me, but everyone else thinks he needs to be our left back going forward. Got his goal. 6th youngest goal scorer in MLS history. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Yeah. You got 2 Academy graduates playing in the first team this season already with Andrew Carlton and now George Bello. Things are looking pretty good, at least in that regard. Right,
the fruits of our labor are being shown. And
I think you'll see more of that as well. And even though the USL team hasn't been great, getting a little bit of experience at that level absolutely helps these players because they get used to playing against men. So when they go up against guys like New England Revolution, who, let's be honest, again, aren't that great. They have, they're comfortable on the ball. And I think Bello especially, that's the one bright point for me is how comfortable he looked again, and this time going the full length of the match.
Right, and he looks so mature on the pitch. Like, if you didn't know he was a 16-year-old, you wouldn't really know at all. Looking at his play, going forward, he's just so bright. You have... just his first touch is just incredible.
Everything about him going forward is incredible. But the best part about it is New England found no joy going down his side attacking either. He handled himself defensively very capably. And sometimes he showed the restraint to not go forward, to sit in that back line, to hold with the rest of the defenders and go, I don't need to go forward right now. And showing that maturity that you don't usually see from a 16-year-old left back. And I said it last week and I said it on the fan cam. I mean, he very well could be the next Alphonso Davies type player that 2-3 years time, he won't be playing for Atlanta United because he's going to be getting that big move to Europe. And, you can definitely see the potential in him to be doing that.
Yeah, you can see the potential. I'm not, I don't want to put that kind of undue pressure on him.
Me neither. I want him to be here for a while and keep banging in the goals and locking down attackers. But, I mean... When you talk about the match itself, like you said, after Miggy went out, it definitely lost some of its fire. The wind kind of came out of our sails, and from really the 60th minute on for me, I thought it was a bit of a snooze fest, which culminated in New England getting a crap goal at the end that I didn't feel they deserved. Lost the clean sheet, kind of irritated me.
Yeah, we lost our focus for sure.
And it's not the first time that's happened this season either, especially at home. Obviously, it didn't come back to bite us in the ass, but it just wasn't that performance that I was really looking for. I mean, yeah, they got the 3 points. Yeah, they bounced back with another win after they, dropped points against Red Bulls last time out, but things aren't clicking full. They're not playing the way that I expect them to play, and this whole 3-4-3 with Lorenowitz as a right center back, it doesn't suit me. I don't think it suits the team, and I'm not quite sure why Tata's persisting with this because I think we have the personnel to play a different style and a different formation and get the best out of the players that we have. And unfortunately, I don't think this is the way that we're doing it.
Right, and especially, I think I've spoken to fan cams about it as well, where we're essentially bypassing our midfield and not allowing one of the best guys in the league on the ball to play and boss the game, Darlington Nagbe, where, yeah, I mean, essentially a lot of the balls were into the channels from over the top from LGP and you know, plays like that where it essentially it's not. I mean, it's a little bit lower percentage of, you know, the type of play that we really want to play. I mean, yes, it's a little bit more direct, and yes, you get a little bit of, you know, what we want to play on the counter a little bit more maybe, but I think it's just, you know, it's something in the way that we play, it's not very inspiring.
Well, the thing that really confused me was in the last 2 games at home against Salt Lake and now against New England Revolution, with those, you know, chip through balls over the top into the channels, why don't we play that type of game against a Red Bull where that makes sense?
Yeah.
This game, we played the way that we probably should have played against Red Bull, but we didn't have to play this way against New England. They're terrible. Why were we playing a back 3? Why did you pull a man out of midfield where you know this team's not trying to press you? You know you need to have another man further forward. You can press them higher up the field. This New England team could have been beaten 3-0 in the first half and cruise in the second half. Well, we made it more difficult for ourselves because we pulled another guy out of the midfield. You have these 2 guys in Remedi and Nagby who they're outnumbered. It's hard for them to get touches on the ball because there's really more players there than there is space for them. And I felt more the tactics we played against New England would have suited us better against Red Bull. And I don't know why we didn't just try to blow away a team that we easily could have swept aside because, again, New England are not good.
They are good, but I think they saw the blueprint that Red Bulls put out and they tried to do their version of it. They're just not as good at the press as a Red Bull. No other team in the league really is. And so,
I mean, that's been Red Bull's MO for years now at this point. And they've shown, regardless of who their coach is, they're going to do that. And they're going to be highly effective at doing that. But another thing that confused me is, you know, New England played with 1 lone striker up top. You don't need 3 center backs marking 1 striker. Like, it just, for me, I didn't understand why we were playing that way. It wasn't the same 3-4-3 that we played against Real Salt Lake because that had Lorenowitz in the middle and Escobar on the right. I don't like a midfield, I mean not midfield, but a back line where you have Lorenowitz and Parker's back there because neither of them have pace. And if you go on who scored and you look at like the formations, there's so much space behind those guys. I trust LGP to come back and make a last-ditch tackle. I don't trust the other 2 guys because they're just going to get hosed.
Yeah, they don't have the recovery speed to make up for that difference when that ball is over the top and then you have a pacey winger trying to beat out Lorenowitz for a ball. Yeah, it's just
bad news because Gressel's never going to be there because he's going down the field scoring goals and making assists, which is what we want from him. But I don't know, for me and I think for you as well, we just weren't really that excited about this match. It was just, yeah, 3 points is 3 points, but at this point in time in the season, I'm expecting this team to be hitting some form and really putting it to a team that has nothing to play for, and really, they're not going to be coming at us with the most inspiration in the world because, what do they have to play for? I think both of us felt we should have been further ahead in this game, and it just, for me, feels like another game where we underwhelmed at a time in the season where we don't need to be underwhelming.
Yeah, but that's not to say we weren't dominating this match, though, because they never seemed like they were going to really concede or, you know, actually, you know, lose this match or anything like that. But it really was. I mean, it was just you know, that their goal really came at the last minute, and
it was just a crappy goal. Guzman comes out and it just bounces around in the box, and it just happens. And like you said, we were, without being fantastic, in complete control of the game. Once Bello scored that goal, I had no qualms that we were getting 3 points. I knew it was going to happen. There was nothing New England was doing that had me thinking, oh goodness, they're going to score. I mean, Gressel gets another goal in the second half to continue a stellar season for him. I mean,
his 4th goal, and with a beautiful Tito assist, that through ball is just
sumptuous.
Yeah, and Gressel, you know, maybe not so quietly anymore, but was quietly having, you know, a fantastic season.
He is having an incredible season. I don't think there's anything else we can say about that. And he's made that right wing back role, I mean, his own, because he's done it again where he plays in that, we'll call it a 3-4-3, but he's playing as a wing back.
Right.
In that position, he's just been absolutely fantastic this season. And I mean, I don't think any of us ever thought he could become the player that he is, but he's done it with hard work and determination. That's what Tata said. You know, Tata's, you know, it's not something that he's coached him to do. You know, Julian Gressel's wanted to become this player, and I just admire him for just his hard work, his determination, and he never says anything when, okay, you're moving to right back, you move to a right wing, you're playing in some strong midfield. He doesn't say anything. He just goes out there, does his business and does it well. And honestly, he's just a crucial part of this team, and he deserved man of the match. But I'm glad Bello got that golden spike at the end.
That's true, yeah. And which was interesting because I think it's the Heineken man of the match.
He can't get it though because he's not 21.
Exactly. And well, I think Eric Rometti got.
Oh yeah, he did get man of the match.
Man of the match. It's all good. I think Eric Rometti had a hell of a match.
He did have a hell of a match too.
But yeah, but George Bello, at least got that golden spike.
Darren Hills actually made a joke about that. I want to say it was on Twitter at some point in time. He's like, "Our can't say this sponsor because you never think about that though, because it never really happens where you have a man of the match, but you can't say
he's a teenager.
He's a teenager. I mean, he's a teenager. He's 16 years old. And he's out there scoring goals in professional soccer. I don't know what I'm doing in my life.
You know, I think a point that we haven't even made yet is that he's our 4th choice left back, essentially.
First choice now.
Yeah, probably. First choice in many people's eyes. You know, I don't know if Tata's gonna give him that steed. You know, completely.
He should.
It's just
he really
what
should.
He does.
I mean,
he's probably gonna play McCann. You know,
why? It's just like just don't. At this point in time, what is the upside of playing McCann? The upside for Bello is so obvious. Is he going to make mistakes? Of course he is. He's 16 years old, but when he makes mistakes, he's going to learn. And you at least have something going forward and the pace to come back. You don't have that option with
Chris McCann. I think you might at least get a net positive versus maybe something
neutral.
Yeah, neutral or net negative.
Yeah.
But and another great stat is that the Five Stripes are 11-0-1 after dropping points this season, and so you know coming back after and rebounding against New England Revolution after that Red Bulls match. That's we've been resilient all season essentially. That's what that shows. And
they had to get the points. At this point in time, they know that the pressure's on. They can't drop points. Right. Obviously, Red Bull picked up the win against San Jose later that night, and they have Philadelphia when we get back from the international break, and that's really going to be their last chance to drop points this season because it's a decent Philadelphia side that's already clinched a playoff spot, but let's be realistic, they're not going to drop points to Orlando City at home on the last day of the season, so...
I don't think Orlando City is really going to do us that solid.
No, I don't think they have really any interest in helping Atlanta United win anything at all.
Right, but with that stat of the us rebounding very well after disappointment, I think that really kind of, if you extrapolate that into the playoffs, that's a good sign because if we're on a 2-leg fixture, and essentially where if we drop points or something happens where we lose that match, that first leg, we probably might bounce back. Well, it's good.
I mean, it shows that they're resilient when they lose a game. They want to come back and get a result. Yeah. That being said, when you have a 2-legged tie like that, things can get really tricky in the playoffs. But we'll definitely talk about that more as we get into the playoffs because I think that things could suit Atlanta well in that situation, but it's because they play so well on the road. But rebounding after that match, that was just incredibly frustrating to the Red Bulls. And even though you didn't look your best, you lose your best player in the first half, and you still continue on to get the 3 points, and then you can get into the international break. Hopefully Miggy can rest up, get healthy. He's not going to be going on international duty now, which... if it's not as bad as they think it is, I'm kind of happy because it keeps him away from that nonsense. Hopefully Joseph can maybe play one game and cut it short again, but
we'll see. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. But let's break down Bello's goal because this thing is a little bit of a thing of beauty, I think, in my eyes. But LGP with that ball over the top and Bello with a beautiful touch, taking it into the box and on the half volley, just blowing it past the keeper where he parries it and he can't do anything about it. It just it's hit so hard that it's just gonna go in the net regardless. But I think you can see something that makes me really happy is Joseph Martinez. He's like a man possessed.
He is so excited.
Going after George Bello to celebrate.
He's more excited. I saw more excitement from Joseph Martinez at Bello scoring a goal than when Joseph Martinez scores a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible to see how happy he was for this kid to get his goal.
And he does a little bit of Millie Rock.
Oh man, he loved it. Millie Rock. I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
because we'll find out later, but you know exactly what I'm thinking of with the Millie Rock. Oh, man, that was a great game.
Yeah, it was great.
For me.
Yeah, but so, you know, George Bello, you know, getting on the score sheet for the first time in MLS, I mean, congratulations to the kid. That's
100%.
just...
It was incredible. It was just, again, with a bouncing ball like that, to hit it with his laces, just well done. I think we're going to see a lot more from him on that, but the ball from LGP, you have to give him props for that because it cuts right inside of New England's right back, and Bello just managed to take it right in stride. It was awesome.
It's got the right amount of swaz and, you know, the right weight on the ball. It's just...
I'll tell you, LGP can play a pass. That dude might be the best ball-playing center back in the entire league because he does it consistently, and he also likes to go on an occasional jaunt forward as well.
Yeah, you saw that this match where, he was in the box taking on players. He got past a couple players.
It's like, what is going on? And then he loses the ball. I'm waiting for the moment where he makes that run all the way down and then just scores a goal and then loses his mind. Because he's going to do it at some point in time.
Yeah, one day he's going to make that mazy, messy run, and then it's just going to be like where he finally puts it away. Yes, we will all lose our minds. But on to George Bello again. I
can't say enough about the guy. Yeah. I don't think we really can.
I don't think we can. But
I'm gushing over it. Just 16-year-old, high schooler, out here scoring goals in professional soccer. It makes me just looking at myself going, man, I really need to step things up in my life. So
but it's inspiring because it's it's a Georgia product as well. And
I mean, right up the road.
Yeah, Douglasville. It's.
I mean, nothing. You really that's one of the things about soccer that I love is when you have a guy who's a local kid who comes up through the team's academy. Mind you, obviously the team's only 2 years old, but still, he's there. He's a day one fan. You know that. He comes to the academy. Now he's wearing the jersey of the team that, he supports because he's a fan as well, and he's scoring goals. I mean, it's incredible. And I think that's something that we've talked about a lot on this show, how that's something that I want this club to have, that tradition of bringing through these local academy, products that can go out there and pull on that jersey, and they know what it means to represent that jersey because they're fans of the team. And when you can have that, when you have that passion, it just adds another layer to this club that's just incredible. Yeah,
they're ingrained into the culture, and they know all about what Atlanta means to people, to the supporters, to people that live here. Yeah, it's it's especially it's just exactly what we want.
It's just one of those romantic things about soccer.
Definitely, yeah. And but speaking of culture, I guess George Bello had this very interesting quote to say after the match. He pretty much said that in preparation for this match, he played less Fortnite before. The night before, and very interesting, of course. Fortnite is very well known for their celebrations. Maybe he got Millie Rock from.
He should have done the Antoine Griezmann little L with the whole thing. That would have fully killed me if he did that.
It's a bit presumptuous if he did that. It'd be.
Have you played Fortnite?
I'm not.
I'm terrible at that game, so let's move on.
Yeah. No, I've seen videos of people playing it, and it looks very interesting. I just don't have the time to play it. But
I played at the very beginning, and I have no idea. I refuse to play that game again because I know if I did, I'd probably just immediately die to people like George Bello and also 10-year-olds consistently, and I just don't want to endure the frustration of that. I'd much rather stick to throwing my controller in rage after I've given up a goal in FIFA.
Sure. No, that's fair. It's fair. But and Tata Martino also had this to say after the match about George Bello. He said, "I think we all have to remain calm with George Bello. Although he has all the ability to play, and he did well in his second start, he's only 16 years old. We know that now we have 2 finals left to play and then the playoffs after that, so we just have to know that he is capable of playing if he is called upon to play." I think that means that he's going to play more Chris McCann, but...
Yeah, I think you read into that thinking he can play. It's just, I think he should play. I think he's better. I mean, if Garza comes back, then maybe he's your option, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's limited action. It's a small sample size. Bello's been the best left back we've had so far this season. And the reason I say that is because
going both ways.
I would tend
to agree with you.
The pace and the ability to get up, get back, and I think that adds another layer to Atlanta's attack and to its defense to have a player that can do that. I think something that's interesting about that quote as well, not talking about Bello, is the fact that Tata Martino refers to our remaining 2 matches as 2 finals. And that's something you definitely hear when you have, people chasing league titles in Europe and everything. They refer to each of the, those games as finals. We have 2 cup finals left. You have those matches that are so important. They want to win Supporter Shield. They want to set the points record. They want to continue on winning. And you have to adopt that mentality that every game is the most important game. And I like that. If that's coming from the coach, that carries on to the players, and they know the importance of what's going on. So maybe, yeah, they're not playing the most aesthetically pleasing football sometimes, but if they know they have to go out there and get that result, the result at the end of the day is the most important thing. And if they can get a win and win a Supporter Shield and win an MLS Cup, maybe they don't play the most, aesthetically pleasing football we're used to seeing, but if they get results at the end of the day, I really don't give a damn.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, but I think at the end of the day, if something comes down to goal difference, that's my worry. But if we, take care of business, get 3 points in the next 2 matches, we're good.
We should just smash Chicago when we play them in 2 weeks' time, and I think we'll be all right on the goal difference part.
Oh yeah. Hopefully there. But so with Miguel Almiron, with his injury and the unknown timetable, which we'll get to later on, but the actual length of how many games might he actually be out, it's up in the air a little bit. And so the conversation moves to who's going to step in and deputize for Miguel Almiron as the 10, as the left winger. And I think the obvious option is Ezequiel Barco. You also have an Andrew Carlton that may play a part, or a Kevin Kratz. Maybe even a Julian Gressel comes in and Franco Escobar comes, as the right back or right center back again. But I think we have a plethora of options. What option do you think is best to deputize?
For me, I think it's Ezequiel Barco. I mean, you don't spend $15 million on a player, and then he was always going to be the Miguel Almiron replacement in a sense. You spent that money. He's kind of worked his way back into the team. He's been playing pretty well when he's been coming off the bench. I thought he was okay on the weekend. He had some good stuff. He did some frustrating things. I think there was one point in time where you could visibly see that Joseph was frustrated with him for not getting a ball back. But you don't spend that kind of money on a player and not play him when you have to play him. And I think he's the natural guy to step in because technically he's more gifted than pretty much every player on that team. And the upside on that, on his potential is incredible. So if you don't have the faith to put him in this spot, then that's a worry for me. But I think he's the best player to put in there. And, there's a reason we went and got him. And, he's had to work his way back into the team. Now let's see if he can grab that chance going, all right, you're going to be one of the main guys for us. Let's see what he can do. And if he can do it, then, you're going to see it. But he's been the main man before almost in a sense. I mean, he's felt the pressure for Independiente. This time last year, we talked about it incessantly, with the rumors of him moving to Atlanta United. This guy has had the weight of the world on his shoulders before, and
they played through him essentially. He was the guy creating chances. He was on the ball in the Sudamericana final. He was taking penalties. He's had that pressure put on him before, and he's not wilted. He's stepped up to the plate, and so is this though? It's going to be a different number 10 or left winger type of style than a Miguel Almiron would play, of course. Because Miguel Almiron is a little faster on the ball, I think, a little bit more technically sound, maybe in the box, is gonna score a few more goals for you for sure, and maybe create some more clear-cut chances. I mean, yes, Ezequiel Barco has held on to the ball a little bit longer than we've liked this season, and maybe not pull the trigger, but I think someone he might hold the ball a little bit better than Miguel Almiron, but maybe he's not going forward as much, and so there is that difference. He's definitely not as sound defensively as a Miguel Almiron.
No, you're not going to get that work rate though. I mean, the work rate you get from Miggy is just incredible. You don't get that from many players, but again, he's got an incredible amount of talent, an incredible potential, and I think this is custom made for him to step in and show what he's got. He's been here long enough now he should feel comfortable in this side to a degree. So, this is his chance. He's going to have 2 games really to show what he's got if he's a choice. I'd rather him play there than move a Gressel and pull in an Escobar, because you have more on the field when Barco's on the field. He's your most gifted player to be coming onto the field off of your bench right now. So in my opinion, he should be the guy. I think he can be the guy, and I'm hoping that he will be the guy these next, couple of games, and possibly even going into the playoffs, depending on what Miggy's injury, and how long it actually takes.
Yeah, and I can hear some of the fans also saying, give Andrew Carlton a chance, give the homegrown a chance.
I want to, but Barco's better. To be perfectly honest,
at this point
Barco's
in time,
better.
But it's also I think Andrew Carlton should see some time as well, maybe to spell Barco for like 75 minutes.
I think you could see him coming on as a sub, giving that last 15-20 minutes if Tata does decide he wants to sub, which obviously he doesn't like doing it sometimes, but I think that this would give Carlton a chance to get some more minutes and show what he can do. And when he's played, he showed that he can produce it. He can deliver the goods. That being said, at this point in time in the season, I'd rather trust a guy who's had the pressure in the Sudamericana final than a homegrown youngster who's never really been put in a position like that. So, and that's not a slight on Andrew Carlton in any way, because I think he's going to be a great player moving forward. That being said, I wanted my gut tells me that Ezequiel Barco is and should be that guy.
And again, like Barco is the champion. Like he's won stuff being the guy. Like I think you have to put this pressure on him and put him in the fire.
If you miss penalties in the Copa Sudamericana final, you get death threats. If you miss a penalty here, not. It's not going to be the same.
Not quite as harsh.
Not quite as harsh.
For sure. But so that's our bow on the New England Revolution match, and we're gonna move on into the news. Where I mean, in that New England Revolution match, we saw Jeezy and Wu-Tang Clan, just guys part of the culture in especially the A3C festival that was going on in Atlanta, the hip hop festival that I mean, essentially saw some like hip hop legends show up at the Benz. I was super stoked to see a couple guys from Wu-Tang Clan. Guys, this is huge stuff that we're always
there might be some culture missing on Wu-Tang Clan for some of the younger people in the audience.
Definitely.
Though, to be fair,
but it's still, I mean, guys, like if you don't know it, just do some research on it. It's
your ears will appreciate it.
But moving on to Tata Martino and his contract situation. It's confusing as hell, obviously, because you have October 1st. That was the first deadline, and then essentially Tata Martino essentially said that I mean, we're going, we're talking on a regular basis, Darren Eales and I, and the rest of the front office, and so this is pretty loose. It's not gonna happen, especially on a decision. But, of course you have the Mexican national team and the Argentinian national team, those rumors just compounding all of that. And you saw Alameda sign with the San Jose Earthquakes, I think today or yesterday, and, he was rumored for the Mexican national team. So that really thickens the plot because Tata Martino was also rumored with the Mexican national team. And so with all that, you have some very
You have an absolute just shit show.
Yeah, is he staying? Is he going? It's really up in the air at this point.
My gut feeling is he stays at least one more year, especially if you get that CONCACAF Champions League spot. I mean, I feel like you get that, then you've wrapped up everything. But I don't know if he'd want to commit to a whole other season. I don't know. I feel like, especially if Atlanta don't win anything this season, he'll have unfinished business here. I think he wants to leave here winning at least one trophy of some sort. So my gut says he stays another year, but I don't think anyone except Tata Martino really knows. And if anyone claims that they know, they're talking a load of rubbish because, as he said, he doesn't have an agent. So if anyone wants to talk to him, they have to talk to him personally. And if he doesn't say anything, there's no source anywhere, because we'll get into another one of those source or someone said this in a little bit, but a lot of the time, especially with South American reporting, they don't care about facts at all. They're just going to say someone said something to someone and this is what's happening.
It's usually like a dartboard type of situation.
It's just, who are we going to do today? And then we're not going to know until Tata makes a decision. And the only person that we're going to find out from is going to be the big man himself.
Yeah, and so I think it's definitely until after the season that we're probably going to find out more. But I
think making it a decision during the season and announcing it would be a terrible idea.
At this point, it's not the wisest
unless you're
anymore.
Staying. Unless the decision is staying, but announcing you're going during the season is not a good idea.
It might get them to play for Tata Martino a little bit more even, but again, I still think
they already play from about as hard as it is. I don't think anything can make them play for El Tata harder than they're already doing. I mean, they respect the hell out of that guy, and I don't think him leaving is going to give them anything else because they came to Atlanta to play for him. So
it's true. Moving on into the next piece of news, George Bello makes the MLS Team of the Week. Congrats to that boy, because
I think he deserves it.
Yeah, for sure. And to see him with the likes of a Wayne Rooney, I'm sure it's surreal for him. But and Tito also makes the 18 as well, so congrats to Tito as well. But you have the international break right now, of course, and you have Joseph Martinez, you have Tito Villalba, Miguel Almiron was, but not anymore. You have Brad Guzan, and George Bello makes the under-17s for the U.S. men's national team. So, this is turning out to be a very, very good week for him. And I mean, I think with all that said, the guys need to come back healthy. Hopefully, nothing happens to them. But Joseph Martinez is only going to play one match apparently, so that's also good, also very good. But I mean, it's. George Bello, he's going to play some games in the October 12th through 16th window, and so, hopefully he doesn't play too many games. Because we're looking for him to start. I hate
the international break, especially at this time of the season. It makes no sense to me. It's worse for European teams right now because they have the whole Nations League thing where they decided, let's put another competitive competition in the middle of the season. Right. But for me, we're on the run in. It's the end of the season. And obviously the best players are going to be leaving, going to go represent their countries. I'm excited for Tito to get his first time with the Paraguay setup.
Yeah, they're just training, but it's good to get acclimated.
It's still good to get acclimated, but I'd rather them all be here and not doing anything, risky. But,
sure.
Moving on from that, I think everyone's kind of been waiting on us to talk about the big news that broke this past week, and that would be that Miguel Almiron apparently had a move to Arsenal for £11 million, and that Darren Eales actually commented on it, saying, Almiron's future is already decided. He will go to England in the European winter market. Fun fact, Darren Eales never said that. He went on 92.9 The Game and said, I never said that. And again, remember how I talked about earlier how Latin American markets just make things up? Here's another example of that. And for those who don't know, £11 million is an absolute joke of a number. I'm going to dig into that a little bit more later, but I think for now, yeah, that's a pretty dumb report. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially this. I mean, Darren Eales never really shows his hand very much at all. And so for him to just say something like this, just where he's
willy-nilly.
Yeah, willy-nilly and claim that, oh yeah, I mean, basically take all his bargaining chips off the table and say like, oh, he's going to go to Europe, or, why would he do that? Like, he would try to, pit against, one country over the other, one league over the other if he was going to do that. Like, why would he say that he's going to, no, it just doesn't make any sense that he would even say anything about it. Has he ever really done that? No, he's always been coy. So, when this rumor came out last week, I
laughed it off.
Our show had already aired, and well, yeah, and this is just like complete bollocks, man. It's just so ridiculous that, yeah.
At least have a bigger number. I mean,
exactly.
For those who don't understand how money and transfers work, we signed Miguel Almiron for $8 million. The quoted, price was £11 million, so roughly $12, $13 million. You really think that Atlanta United are going to sell their best player to Arsenal, one of the top 6 sides in the English Premier League, which has a ridiculous amount of money, for a measly $5 million profit? Yeah, $5 million. That's a lot of money. Not when you have bang average players going for £20 million. Miguel Almiron is worth a lot more than that. And Darren Eales actually wanted to say, if a team wants to talk about it, it's going to be 3 times that amount, which I love to hear. I think Miguel Almiron in today's market for the Premier League, which I watch a lot of and I follow very intently, he's definitely around a 25 million to 30 million top end player. That's probably where you'd cap it out at. He's 25 million pounds for me, somewhere in there. That's going to translate to about $33 million, which is what Darren Eales is talking about. That's fair. If you see anything quoted less than that, it is an absolute load of rubbish. He is an incredibly talented player that any team will be lucky to have, because no one works their socks off like that guy does. And I mean, I think he'd fit Arsenal well. That pains me to say, but I think him moving on to whatever club it is just nothing but good for Atlanta United, and I wish him the best when he does move on. But for us, I think this is the first time we're going to have, a whole transfer just saga about one of our players moving on. And it's going to continue to happen because that's where Atlanta United are in the food chain. And if we have good players, bigger clubs in Europe are going to want them. For everyone, I would just say, be patient. Don't trust most of what you read unless it comes from reputable sources. Most of the time, this stuff is not coming from reputable sources. And for me personally, my rule of thumb is, unless one of the teams has announced it, I'm not going to believe it. Because until I see a player holding a shirt, it's never a done deal.
Yeah. Especially with the English just rumor mongering that they do, essentially. Yeah, I mean, there's so much out there that is just that dartboard action for sure, where they're just pitting a name with a team, and it really doesn't even have to be based in truth. So yeah, this is just the start of it, guys.
And I'll do you guys a favor right now, actually, especially with them being linked to England. If you see any papers named The Sun, The Daily Anything, Mirror, Star, they're tabloids. Think National Enquirer. The Sun is one that says a lot of rubbish, and everyone in England hates them. So if it's the anything, unless it's the Times, which is a respected, or the BBC usually never reports something unless they know it to be fact. Unless it's one of those higher-end news sources, don't listen to them. It's just an absolute load of nonsense. They're just saying things because they can say them trying to sell papers. So that's a good rule of thumb for anyone who's following it, anyone who's getting into the sport. Tabloids say a lot of crazy shit in soccer, and it's just one of the things you're going to have to get used to.
So moving on to players that might be leaving the club to players that might be coming to the club, we might have a new Martinez, Pity Martinez, or his, I guess, government name, Gonzalo Martinez. He is a River Plate player, and the rumor is it's 15 million for this guy that is very, very talented. A guy that is kind of pitted to be Miguel Almiron replacement if he leaves, and apparently the front office are in on him. And this guy, he's a creative midfielder that I think is very tasty.
Very good. He is tasty. Very good.
Yeah. And if we can get the likes of this type of player, it would be huge.
If the reports are true and it's a 15 million euro release clause, that will make things a whole hell of a lot easier when it comes to negotiations. For those who are not aware of how release clauses work or what they are a very much Spanish thing. In Spain, they're actually required to have a release clause in every single contract, which is how Neymar got out of his Barcelona one. But 15 million euros, if you have a release clause, you just pay what it is, and the other club can't do anything about it. So if Atlanta just go to River Plate and say, here's 15 million euros, or whatever the equivalent is in dollars, River Plate can't do anything. We can immediately negotiate with Pity Martinez's agent and say, how much do you want? Come on over. It makes things a whole hell of a lot simpler. For me personally, I hate having them in player contracts. In FIFA, they're like, do you want to insert a release clause? No, I don't, because you can do nothing about it, and I just hate it when it's just like, and your player's gone now. But yeah, I think he's an incredibly talented player. I love a Martinez and Martinez connection, and I would pity any team that has to come against us if we have him in our lineup.
You did it.
I could not help it. It was way too simple, and even though it was painful.
And guys, moving on to the injury report, Miguel Almiron is week to week according to the team, and that's a lot better than what we've heard initially, because Tata Martino said that he would miss the last two matches. Essentially, he'd be out for the rest of the season. Now being week to week, that means that, he may be back for some of the last games. Whether that actually happens or not, that's a whole different thing. But he won't be traveling to Paraguay, and he will be staying in Atlanta to rehabilitate. So that's good news.
I guess that's a good, the international break coming in clutch for once, getting 2 weeks to rehab that hamstring for a little bit. Hamstring's going to be finicky, though. Personally, I'd rather him not play those last two regular season games if it can guarantee that he can be healthy for that first, match of the postseason, which, it'll be an away game, but hopefully he's fit for that, and if not, hopefully he's back by that, November 11th home game.
Yeah. My worry is he going to be match fit? It's going to be a big problem because
It was a problem last season.
Yeah, last season against Columbus Crew, he definitely wasn't match fit, and you could tell, and we were off completely because of that, and that kind of culminated into that loss.
Let's not talk about it too much.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on from that, but so we'll move on to Atlanta United 2, and they've had a pretty good week.
Yes, they have.
Yeah,
for once.
For once, it's pretty good. So they had a midweek game against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and a last-minute tying goal from Miles Robinson. He gets on the score sheet, and it makes a pretty decent result for them midweek. And then they come back over the weekend against Charleston Battery, our former USL affiliate, and win 2-1 with Andrew Carlton gets some assists.
That one ball he played to Romario Williams was absolute sauce. If you haven't seen it, it is on Atlanta United's Twitter. Yeah. It is a sauce pass if I have ever seen
from midfield. Over, oh my god, it's not even over the top.
It's just through. I mean, he absolutely threaded the needle on that one. Yeah. It was an incredible. And then Romario Williams gets Player of the Week for the USL.
Yeah, for the 2 goals they scored in this game, and so pretty good week for Atlanta United too. So good job.
I think it's actually good that Romario is getting some minutes right now because he hasn't had a lot of chances in the first team really this season. But to get him up and firing and to get him into some match fitness and some confidence could be a real boon for the postseason because he'll be ready to step off the bench and be ready to go because he's been playing. There's only 2 more home games left for Atlanta United 2. It's the last 2 games of their season, so if you haven't been to a match yet, try to get out to Coolray Field. It's a lot easier to get tickets than it is for a first-team match.
That's
and
for sure.
You'll definitely see some younger stars in the future, being a Carlton, or you can see some guys in the first team that are getting some minutes like Romario Williams. Get out there and support them because it's a good time and it's a lot more easygoing than a match at the Benz for sure.
That's for sure. But let's get into the standings. Where are we looking?
We are 1 point ahead of Red Bulls currently. It is going to be tight. We are on 66 points. If we win our next game against Chicago Fire after the international break, we will tie the points record of Toronto FC from last season. They will not be happy, and they would definitely prefer to beat us on that final day of the season, but things are tight. It is a 2-horse race. It will come down to those final 2 games. We've got Chicago and Toronto. They've got Philadelphia and Orlando shitty. So they've definitely got their eye on 6 points, and we cannot afford to drop any.
Definitely. And into that CONCACAF Champions League update. Essentially, I think we pretty much have it at this point, but it's just a matter of seeing it out. And at 121 over that 2-year span, we pretty much are in pole position, and so it's just a matter of time now. And so, we pretty much will be in Champions League next season. It's just a matter of that being official. But that gets us into our mailbag questions. You guys send in your questions through Instagram story. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Continue to do so, and your question might be answered on a future show. First question comes from Aver Post 27. They ask, if Miggy leaves, how do you think the chemistry between Pity Martinez will be? I assume between Pity Martinez and Joseph Martinez, I suppose. I mean, it's really hard to tell. Obviously, you haven't seen them on the pitch together before, but I think by last name alone, they'll be great.
They should be great. Yeah, Martinez, I am absolutely fine with having another Martinez in the side. If 1 was good, 2 is better. I don't even want to think of what would happen if we had 3. I think the world might just collapse in on itself. But again, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the news segment. He is a very talented player. Honestly, I like what I see more from him than what I did when I saw the Ezequiel Barco stuff. This guy's a player. And I don't know if he'd be here very long.
Yeah, because he is 25, and so there is that, he's already looking for that next move.
Yeah, it might be the 1-year type deal that if he comes here, plays really well, he might make that next step. That being said, 15 million euros is a lot of money for a 25-year-old. You're banking less on potential at that age. Most South Americans, if they're 25, they've already made that move to Europe. So he might be a player that does end up staying on a while. We really don't know. As we talked about transfers, it's an insane thing. You never know what's going to happen until it happens, and we're not going to hear anything from the club because, again, Darren Eales plays things close to the vest. So we'll find out, but fingers crossed, we can only hope that they strike up another fusion type thing that you see between Miggy and Joseph.
Definitely, that's the hope. And next question comes from James B7103, our old friend.
Can you just make your Instagram name just slightly simpler, just for the sole reason that it makes his life easier when he's reading it out?
Right? I appreciate that, yeah, but you don't have to do that. But he asked, why do you think Joseph has stopped scoring as regularly as before? Also, there was a very similar question from Philip Mosley and also Moritz Lind, 8009. But essentially, yeah, you know, Joseph hasn't scored in 4 matches, yes. You know, maybe he's gotten a little less aggressive after he's broken the record. Yes, but I think he's, you know, still very involved in the play. I don't think by any means he's slumping.
No.
And yeah, I think at any point he could score again, and you know he's on a hot streak. So it's not really, I think, that big of an issue.
I mean, he's scored 30 goals this season. So if he has a little spell, a little drought where he doesn't score, it happens to the best strikers all the time. I mean, look at a Cristiano Ronaldo who struggled at the beginning of last season for Real Madrid, ends up scoring almost 40 goals this season again. They're all going to have spells where the ball's just not hitting the net. The good thing is that he is remaining involved in the build-up. He is remaining involved in the play. He will get his goals. It will happen. He is a player of immense quality, and I have no worries or concerns about him getting on the score sheet when we need him to. So he's the guy. I'm not worried. Everything will be okay with him.
Exactly. He's a big game player. If there's any big game players on Atlanta United, he's it.
He's it.
But next question comes from Jake Majors 7. He asks, what's going on with the Almiron transfer to Arsenal rumors? Okay, we just pretty much addressed that essentially, but you know, essentially, guys, I mean, there is going to be, you know, crazy rumor transfer sagas essentially all throughout this offseason. So just really get prepared for that.
This is the first.
Yeah.
It will not be the last.
Yeah.
He will be linked with a lot of teams because he's a very talented player. Mm-hmm. And depending on how far Atlanta go, if they lift any trophies, it'll only get more and more speculation on him and his future.
Right. So prepare to just either love it or hate it.
Or just ignore it like I do, because otherwise you lose your sanity.
Yeah. I mean, there is this. Sometimes when there's smoke, there is fire, but I think you have to see who the source is in order to do
I mean, he's going to move at some point in time. We all accept that. It's just, where will he move?
But last question comes from Now Faruqi. He asks, would we have one of the best 21 months in MLS history if we won the Cup and the Shield, in your opinion?
That's a really good question, actually. I don't know. I think that if they win the Cup and the Shield, it would cap a really nice 2-season run. That being said, I think that you probably going to, I mean, LA Galaxy have had some really good seasons back to back. I don't know if we could go that far yet. I think that Atlanta, if they could win a double back-to-back, if you can win back-to-back trophies at any point in time, I think that's when you're putting yourself in some really, you know, verified air up there, or rarefied air, I should say. But I don't know. I really don't know. I think we've looked really good, but it's the very beginning of the franchise. There's a lot to come from them, and there's been some good sides in Major League Soccer history, whether, you know, you're talking about those LA Galaxy sides, or even, you know, Toronto over the last couple of years. They've been playing really, really well. I don't know. You got to win something first, so we'll see. Maybe we can revisit this question in a few months' time at the beginning of December, hopefully with us wearing some MLS Cup Champions shirts on or something like that. Might change my mind on that a little bit.
Right. And, I mean, I don't know if this came with a qualifier of the best, you know, initial 21 months. If it were that, maybe it's the Chicago Fire of 1998, I believe, that won the double in their first year. But again, that's different times.
That's MLS 1.0.
Yeah,
that's penalties from the halfway line running at the keeper.
Exactly. But you also have, you know, I think if you look at the whole like kind of impact on MLS, and also maybe attendance, and maybe just the whole package. I mean, I think we definitely have that shout of being in that conversation. But yeah,
I think in terms of influence, for sure. I think the last 21 months, as far as influence, have been massive. Because you see Miami doing the same thing, you see LAFC doing the same thing. I mean, the impact of Atlanta United on the culture of Major League Soccer cannot be understated. Right. So as far as that's
the world
concerned,
as well, in terms of fan culture, you know, we are in the, I think, top 5 or top 6 of attendances in the world as well. I mean,
we're one of the top 15 most supported clubs in the world in terms of attendance right now. And there are actually some really good pieces that came out this past weekend, one by the Times in the UK, that if you haven't read, I absolutely recommend looking up. One of them is behind a paywall, but you can definitely find ways to read it. The UK is taking note of what we're doing here in Atlanta, and they are very impressed. They did not think that something like this could happen. I speak to some of my friends over in the UK all the time, and they're following it. They're like, hey, how did Miguel Almiron do? Hey, how's Joseph Martinez? What's this Ezequiel Barco fellow up to? They've heard these guys' names. They know what's going on because Atlanta is doing things that haven't been done before. So the world's taking note, especially when you can put 72,000 people in that building. Just got to win some trophies, and I think we'll get a whole lot more respect. I think one of the positive things is that it's bringing more eyes to the league as well. And as the league gets better, I think Atlanta United will get better. So, I'm kind of romantic about the sport in that aspect, but we'll see. For me, it's been incredible what Atlanta has done in these last 21 months, and I cannot wait for what the future holds with this team.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it like this, where Miguel Almiron is linked with the likes of Arsenal, and people aren't really batting an eye too hard. I mean, think about year 3, year 4, year 5, who we're linked with.
I mean, you see, Miguel Almiron could be one of those guys where it's like, if you have one guy start that trend of, okay, he came to Atlanta United, he did well, and now he's playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Whether or not you agree with me as an Arsenal fan or whatever you are, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but they are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Make no mistake about that. They are a massive brand that is globally supported. You have a player move to a club like that and do well, other players are going to see that, regardless of who the coach is. They're going to go, okay, I can go there, play this style of football, do well, get noticed, and then make a big move to a big team. And then you start getting a lot more players going, I want to go there because that can be my stepping stone to something big. So, I mean, it's impressive. We'll see. I mean, we have no idea where he's going to end up, but it's nothing but good news as far as that's concerned with Atlanta United.
Right. But yeah, speaking of those type of rumors, let's get into our
Wasteman of the Week. All right, guys, I've kind of talked about it a little bit, but my Wasteman of the Week is whoever the asshat was that wrote that stupid article about Miguel Almiron moving on. Not only did they make up some BS quotes about our beloved president, Darren Eales,
Eagles, you mean?
Yeah, Darren Eagles or whatever. Yeah. Here's a great part. You really think Darren Eales, who, I don't know, he kind of negotiated the Gareth Bale sale from Tottenham to Real Madrid, is going to sell one of his best players on the cheap to Arsenal? If you don't know, those two clubs don't like each other. Don't think he let that go either. Yeah. In so far as rumors go, like I said earlier, a lot of these tabloids report absolute bollocks, nonsense, shit, I don't care what it's called. I ragged on the Sun earlier. You know what they call the Sun in England? They call it the shit. Because no one trusts them, no one trusts anything these things say. This is just kind of a thing you're going to have to get used to. I could go on for hours about how transfers are stupid and the people that report them are crazy, and like AJ said, they just throw things at a dartboard and see what sticks. Or a better analogy, they throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. So as far as I'm concerned, the Wasteman of the Week is whoever the hell that guy was that wrote that stupid article with a stupid number and a stupid quote. It was all stupid, and that's why he's the Wasteman of the Week.
Yeah. And guys, that gets us into our question of the day. And with this being our 50th show, it's just insane.
Yeah, I have no idea how we've done 50 of these. It's honestly incredible. Thank you guys for watching, by the way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, indeed. But we wanted to do something special for you guys, and so we're doing a giveaway. And so if you've watched all the way to the end, congrats. You can get in and participate in this giveaway. So what we're going to do is we're going to give a copy of FIFA 19. That's right. FIFA 19, we haven't even played it yet.
I have not played a single minute. I have not had the time to even buy it or play it. So consider yourself lucky, because you're going to play it before I do. And the game's already been out, and I kind of hate myself for that. But you're lucky, but you're not. We're lucky because you're watching, and we appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. And so you're going to get a new copy of FIFA 19 and one tee from our merch store. And all you have to do to enter is answer 3 questions in our description box below. They're just relevant to Five Stripe Weekly, and all you have to do is, if you've been watching, or if you can do a little bit of research too, but answer those questions correctly, you'll be entered into a pool, and we'll choose the winner from there. But just let us know in the comments below those answers, and comment that, and we'll see whomever answers correctly we will get that into the pool and we will pick a winner on next week's show. So guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video because it really does help us a lot. And smash that like button. And for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.